Welcome, speculators. So, in reply to a recent video I made about a project that's price changed from $500,000 to $5 billion in a couple years, that got some good questions. One of the commenters is Leandro Soares. I'll blow up his comment. He says, "Why do you like natural resources at this moment?" And he goes on from there. But I wanted to reply to this because I think this is a really good question. Why do you like natural resources at this moment? It says you like buying low and selling high, but what do you think what do you think will make the prices go up again? So I went to Google Finance and I started typing some stuff in. I typed in S&P 500 because I'm in the US and I think about the US markets, and that's kind of the environment I live in. And the juniors, here it's the juniors, the Canadian Juniors Index, JX is a symbol that Google Finance uses if you want to make your own charts. And so the US markets are represented in blue, and the Canadian juniors are represented in orange on this chart. And the chart goes back to 2005, and it looks completely different depending on the time frame you use, but I kind of narrowed in on this time frame because I think it tells the story of what I'm trying to say. Before the 2008 crash that we had, the juniors were flying higher than the American markets. You can see that represented by the orange in this general region. The US markets are doing well too, so they were kind of correlating each other. And the market crashed, and you could almost say the juniors crashed before the American markets, or they kind of crashed together, but they crashed hard into 2008. The end of 2008, the stuff started picking back up again. The US markets went up, but the juniors went up even more in percentage wise. So they had a larger percentage move up, larger percentage move down, larger percentage move up again after the 2008 crash in 2010, 2011. Those companies printed up tons of shares and they cashed themselves up to be ready for the next crash. And the market crashed on the little guys again, hard this time. And so since 2005, those little guys, what's left of them, what's still left in the index, because lots of them have disappeared, are down 70%, and the American markets, or the S&P 500, is up about 70%. So these last couple years, 2011 and on, the American markets and the juniors have gone in reverse of each other. They've gone in different directions, and that's, I think, more historically normal than what has happened around the 2008, where everyone thinks if the U.S. market crashes, the juniors crash. I think the juniors sing a lot more of their own song. They're much more of an alternative market. People get pissed off at the American markets or the whatever markets they're in because they stop working. They start looking for alternatives, and this little juniors market is one of the alternatives. It's not the alternative, but it's one of many that people can choose from. And a little bit of the money coming from these bigger markets, represented by the blue line here, going into the tiny market represented by the orange line, means a lot to the little market. And I think the percentage can go whipping back to the upside, something huge again, and we can get a lot more bang for our buck by shopping low and hoping for high later on someday. Not saying that that'll come, and I'm not much of a chart believer. I mean, to me, looking at charts like this is trying to drive your car by looking in the rearview mirror. I mean, it'll probably work for a while, but eventually something will change, be a turn up ahead or a crash of some kind, and you're in trouble. The charts don't work anymore. But I think this tells a story. And let's go back to the comments. Do you believe in a market crash in the near future and a possible new round of quantitative easing? I think we're always in quantitative easing. There's lots of ways that the government prints money. I think some of the old statistics I like to go back to are, the US dollar is down probably 98% in the last 100 years. That's a trend that I believe will continue, and being on the right side of that trend ought to be our friend over time. I don't know if it's going to be this month or next year or the next 5 years, whether it really matters or not. But I believe over the longer term, being on the right side of the US dollar going down in value, or whatever currency you're thinking in going down in value, is a good trade. So I believe just be ready for it either way. And then he asks, do you care about the economic situations, or do you pay attention only in the companies expecting the prices to go up one way or another? I think both are good to think about. I'd rather spend 95% of my time thinking about the company specifically and their scenario and why that price is going to go up, and maybe 5% of the time or 2% of the time about the bigger picture stuff that most everyone's talking about all the time. Because I believe that's my competitive advantage, is focusing in on the little companies and why that company is going to move. And if the bigger picture happens to coincide with the little company moving, I think it'll expand the little company's movement. But if we're buying little companies that are trading at liquidation values or below cash, and we're protecting the downside as much as we possibly can, and the markets crash and everything goes wrong elsewhere in the world, that little company should be able to hang on and survive and keep taking advantage of situations like we're having in the markets now, with picking up projects and growing their business. And they might not see the growth in their share price until the markets turn back on someday, but they'll grow the value there for the people that stick around for when the lights turn on again someday. And so that's how I like to look at these markets and think about them. So then he goes on to say, at this moment I'm buying silver and mining stocks, but if gold prices stay this low for 1 to 2 more years, then some companies will disappear. Yes, they're disappearing left and right. I mean, lots of these companies are disappearing. I think since the beginning of the year, I heard some statistics, something like over 70 companies disappeared off of the Toronto Venture Exchange. Not renamed, reworked, revived. I mean, actually disappeared, delisted, gone. And then he asked about Temple Gold, posted their financial statement for June 2015. They have 15,000 cash left. I'm thinking about making some donation. If you believe in the company, great, but $15,000 cash left. I mean, they've been running, Temple Gold's been running on fumes for a long time. Temple Gold is, I mean, you could put hundreds of different companies' names in here besides Temple Gold. I mean, they're borrowing money from the people running the company to keep it going by not paying salaries, by not paying rent. They're walking away from lots of their liabilities, that if they get some money, or if they can keep the lights on one way or another, they probably got to pay a lot of that back just to get started, get going again. I think companies like that are turning from assets into liabilities. I mean, there's more of a bill there than some kind of business you're buying into. I mean, yeah, you could put money in there and kiss it goodbye if you really wanted to, but I think there's so many other better opportunities in a market like this to put your money into. So I don't know why you would. It's time to say, I made a loss, I made a mistake on that one, sell what you have and move that on too, even if it's only money left to buy your wife some flowers or dinner. I mean, sell it. Take the money, take whatever you can away from those guys that are looking to spend the last of what you got, and move it on. Redirect it towards something more useful. Other stocks have better opportunities of coming out of this sector like gangbusters than a lot of these others that are just down and out and not doing anything. So hopefully that gives you a reason to get off your butt and go sell some of those dead stocks and find some more efficient ones to put the money into. Either way, you can do whatever you want with your money, but that's what I would do with mine. And if you like these kinds of updates, appreciate you subscribe to my channel, and or give us some thumbs up. Thank you.